To say we're now live and plugged through to good old YouTube. It's a Sunday. I'm not going to say it's a beautiful Sunday outside because that would be a little bit of an overstatement for here in the UK. The reality of the matter is it's just another Sunday. A little bit cold-ish, but nothing major. I don't think anybody would have any major complaints about the weather. But you know what? This is not a weather forecast. This is not about what the weather is or is not. This is people talk. And the purpose of people talk is to talk about the people and the things that people are talking about this week. Look, I started out at the beginning of the week with a whole range of stuff that I thought I was going to talk about. And I was pretty sure, you know, that nothing stranger could happen in the week than the ongoing squatter we have in the White House in America. But as it turns out, that has been superseded. The squatter in the White House is kind of not even big news anymore. You know, I think, you know, we've kind of gotten used to the fact that the squatter ain't going anywhere. He's going to be there for a while, at least until the 19th, when we can expect someone to chuck him out. But so many bits and pieces have taken place, which I don't know about you, but I just personally find so very strange. And God, where do we begin? You know, we've had so many little incidents, so many bits and pieces that it is absolutely fascinating to me that we're just continuing and we're just going on, and a lot of people are behaving as if much of what is going on out there is just pretty normal. And I don't know what's going to happen next. But what I thought I'd do this week, I thought I'd start the show with something that will link us into what is going on this week, and give us a kind of a share and a look into what's going on in this week and what's been going on, and let's take the conversation from there.
Hey, it's me.
Oh, hey, love.
How are you? How's Mum?
Yeah, well, we're fine. We're all good. We're good.
So excited for Christmas.
Christmas! I just really hope I can see you lot.
Me too. I cannot stop thinking about Mum's roasties.
Whoa. What about my gravy?
What about your gravy?
Hey, you, what's going down?
Dad, not the song.
Gravy boat's coming to town. It's not any ocean, just take a sip.
Dad.
It's filled with scrummy and saucy bits.
How does Mum put up with you? Your gravy is pretty good, to be fair, and I just really want to be home for it.
So my gravy is the best.
Dad.
Honey, she says my gravy's the best. Honey.
He's so excited because his gravy is the best. But let's be honest, that very straightforward and simple advert has caused unbelievable uproar. It's unbelievable that something like this, so innocent, so wholesome, could cause an uproar. But I am often reminded by the people in my Facebook page that, you know, we really shouldn't be shocked at the sort of uproar. And for those of you who are on a different planet and don't understand the nature of the uproar we're talking about, let's say that some elements of this society have deemed that advert to be offensive. You know, comments range from, well, clearly he's not the father because Black families don't have fathers in situ, to, you know, where is that ad for? Is it for Africa because it doesn't represent the UK? Mind-blowing ignorance and racism. And, you know, the two words are actually interchangeable. It is unbelievably racist, as Stella has said. Hi, Stella. I know Stella's out in the Middle East. Nice of her to join us again. It's unbelievable. It is just absolutely unbelievable that people can feel that something like this, which is to me so wholesome, deserves such vitriol. But it is a reminder. It is a reminder of who we walk among. Let's be realistic. It is a reminder for those of us who sometimes we lose a grip as to exactly what's going on around us. And you know what? I understand. You know, we're getting along with our lives every day. We're doing our everyday thing, and that's cool. But what I'd like to hear your comments today. This show is more or less about you guys. So I'd like to hear what people have to say. If you're logging in on Zoom, please just raise your hand, not on the camera, because guess what? I can't watch everybody's profile at the same time, even though I'd like to. But what I'd like to do is to get people's views and opinions. And that's just one of the things I want to be talking about today. One of the other things I want to talk about, and I wouldn't say I've been dodging it for a while, but I find that it's sort of like the same argument that they have in the US about Donald Trump and whether Donald Trump is racist. It's the same sort of argument, and it's about vaccinations. And I wasn't overly confident that we could have a mature conversation about vaccinations. And I make no bones about using the word mature. Yeah, that's the word I'm going to use. Sometimes I don't think that we're ready for a mature conversation around vaccinations. I've been accused of being a sheep, of being asleep. And the odd thing about that accusation is that the people who've accused me of this actually don't know my view on vaccinations. They don't. And the reason why I know they don't know my view on vaccinations is because up until today, I've not given it. Yep, certainly not in a public setting. Yeah, people who are very close to me know what my view is, but I've never given it in a public setting. So it's quite fascinating that based upon what I write and what I comment on Facebook, there are those who one guy said to me that he had been taking snapshots of my page for months because I am just such an anti-vaccination person, and I poo-poo people who have concerns about vaccinations and blah, 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 blah. So today, I might share with you guys my view on vaccinations, but again, more important than that is your view on vaccinations. What do you think about vaccinations? So that's one of the topics that I think we should have try to have a mature conversation about it. And let me put some structure around this word mature. I don't want no YouTube videos. I don't want no doctor said this or doctor said that. And here's why. Because if you give me 10 doctors that say vaccinations are fine, I can find you 10 that say they're not. I can find 10 that say they're not, and I can find 10 that say they are. So that can't be the method that I'm going to decide that vaccinations are good or bad. Quite frankly, I don't have a medical degree. Yeah. And I'd quite happily shut up for 20 minutes if someone with a medical degree in that field came on the phone. I don't take financial advice from my plumber, but I don't take plumbing advice from my banker. Yeah. So let's not get it twisted. Let's be mature about this. And the question I put out to everybody was, how are you going to make your decision? I know how I'm going to make my decision. And trust me, it is not based on anything I see or hear in the media. Yeah. So I know I have a process which I will go through where I make my decision. And that's a process, quite frankly, that I've been using for years. So we want to have a conversation about vaccinations. But when I started the week, that seemed to be the biggest, most important thing that I needed to talk about. It seemed to me to be the big thing that needed to be commented about. And, you know, I don't know, maybe because we've been at this since March, it kind of dwindled. But let me tell you, man, Boris Johnson is the gift that keeps giving. He is, I don't want to say amazing, because there'll be some idiot out there who will think that I like him. And that when I say amazing, I'm saying it in a good sense. Boy, I've run out of ways to describe him. You know, I've used waste of skin. I've used everything that I know. You know, I've used some Jamaican, which some people can't understand. But the guy is just amazing. And for those of you who don't know where I'm going with this part of the conversation, let me share this video with you.
I'm sorry that my behaviour has upset people, and I've never intentionally set out to upset anyone. I work with thousands of brilliant civil servants every single day, and we work together day in, day out to deliver on the agenda of this government. And I'm absolutely sorry for anyone that I have upset.
So, first question for the day. And now everybody who's there in the chat on thingy, you're now able to unmute yourself if you want to have a comment. Who accepts Priti Patel's apology? Who sees it as a respectful, upfront, yes, we should forgive the sister? Because by the way, she's BAME, so she's a sister. We should forgive her. Come on. There must be someone out there who wants to forgive. I'm going to shut up now. You can unmute yourself and tell me if you forgive her. Go on.
I think the question really is, do I forgive her or do I believe her?
Okay.
Do I trust her?
Good. Do you trust her? Do you believe her?
No.
But Boris said it was a sincere apology.
Listen, there's so many untruths coming out of the government to this day, right? I'm being cynical.
But she's a hard-working Home Secretary.
Granted, she's a hard-working person, but when she came onto the scene, I remember having a discussion with a friend of mine, and the friend, who happens to be white, said, "This is the best thing that's ever happened. Priti Patel obviously likes to get." I said, "But yes, but don't you see her attitude? Her attitude has entitlement written all over it."
Entitlement?
Mm.
How can and I'm just playing the company line here, so please don't hang up on me too quickly. How can somebody who's a BAME be entitled? How's that? Remember, she's BAME, you know, she's one of us. Yeah, we're all the same, all us black folks.
Well, you and I know, right, that there are some people who say that they're one of us, but born with a silver spoon in their mouth, gone to the right schools, etc., and basically have no time for their own.
And you think it's fair to say
all about empire building?
You think it's safe to say that Priti Patel is one of those?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I'm trying to defend this, but the more I read about stuff. So, you know, I was reading The Guardian this morning, and apparently what took place was, first of all, the guy who was charged with doing the investigation, he was refused access to some of the key people. Yeah. And so even the report that we saw, and by the way, I keep seeing Tory supporters claim that the report is not in the public eye. It is. It is absolutely in the public eye. Yeah. It is a short report. It is just 2 pages. Yeah. It is in the public eye. And so it is confusing. But the report is actually quite clear. And when you do official reports like that, there's only one line that is of true interest. And that is the line that says did she or did she not break the code? Yeah. And according to the report, not according to me, not according to Labour, according to the guy he asked to do the report, she broke the ministerial code. Never in our political history that I'm aware of has someone broken the code and as a consequence of that kept their job. In fact, historically what has happened, they have simply resigned because they understand the gravity of it. But not only has she not resigned, but the Prime Minister has said, screw the report. As far as I can see, there's nothing here. He doesn't agree with the report.
Paul, can I just say that I personally think that with Priti Patel, I think people have forgotten that this isn't the first time she's been in trouble.
Absolutely.
You know, this isn't the first time she's, you know, potentially going to be booted out of the government. And I'm with Joy on this. She came across as so condescending with this so-called apology. She didn't actually apologize, was my view, was my take. And she does come across as very much entitled. And I just don't see, you know, I don't see the fuss the Tories are making over Priti Patel. She more or less, as I said, this isn't her first time she's had, you know, issues with codes of conduct, so to speak. She was booted out the first time round, and now it looks like, with all that said, there's public pressure for Boris to get rid of her, and he's going to do so in some sort of reshuffle. And again, I'm just so, you know, again, I don't see why we should defend her because she's BAME. Just, you know, I know a lot of BAME people who are not necessarily good people, and just because, you know, she's supposed to be one of us, all of a sudden, you know, the Black community, the Asian community, the BAME community should rally around this woman. She's, you know, she's an entitled, she doesn't, you know, as far as I'm concerned, she's not sorry that she's bullied. You know, the Tories go around talking about, you know, stop bullying in schools. How can they look people in the face with some sort of bullying policy, and they've got one amongst them? It's just ludicrous, I find.
You know what? I've I don't want to say for my sins, but over the years, I've done a lot of work in schools throughout London, and you know, especially as a Black parent, we have gone through great lengths to get stuff about bullying to be really try to eradicate it,
right,
and to try to educate our children about why bullying is wrong and why bullying should not be tolerated and why we shouldn't be allowing bullying on any level, any way, shape or form. And I've got to ask the question, and I wish I had a direct line to someone like Boris Johnson or to one of those ministers that keep rolling out, you know what, we got to put our hand up. Ken Clarke has said no to this. Ken Clarke has made it clear that he does not agree. But the vast majority of Tory MPs are lining up to say, she said sorry, that's it. That's not the way it works. Yeah. As a parent, that's not the way I know when my son did something wrong, it worked. Sure, it's great for you to say sorry, but there must be some punishment. We cannot be setting this sort of an example where the simple thing is she says she's sorry and she has no understanding clearly of the effect her actions may have had on those employees who were at the end of it. You know, I remember a number of years ago, I was working at a company. I'll say the name because I don't care. They're not in service anymore anyway, and I can see why. There's a telecoms company called OneTel, and my boss was a New Zealander. Yeah, I'm 6'3". She was 5 foot nothing. Yeah. Now I don't know if being a woman in essentially a man's world, being short, because if you're under 6 foot in my book, you're short. Yeah. I don't know if these were the things that were driving her behavior, but she was always very aggressive. And I remember one day she asked me to do something which required, in my understanding of life, no, Don, shorties don't rule the world. So get a life. She asked me to do something which, coming from the private sector, I understood required 3 quotes. Yeah. I went out, I got 3 quotes, and I presented these 3 quotes to her. And she flipped. Why are you wasting time? Blah, blah. And then she swore at me. You want to know what I did? This is my son. My son chooses to call me on a Sunday. Hold on a second. Kareem, how can I help? I'm on the radio. Talk to you later. Yeah, so I stood up and I walked out. I just walked out. Because if the dark side of me came out, you all wouldn't have known me. Yeah? Because I still retain enough of my Jamaicanness to say I wouldn't hit her because she's a woman and she's short. But I would put her in her place. And I would put her in a place in such a manner that they couldn't keep me in the building any longer. So rather than be pushed to that, I left and said to them, send me the rest of my money. So I can't imagine 2020, you're in a job, you're a civil servant, your boss is swearing at you, and she admits that she swore at people. And there are people saying, one guy on the radio, a MP, Rosendale, yeah, I think he's an MP for somewhere over in Essex. He said, Priti Patel is the victim.
Of what?
Apparently, and these are his words, not mine, he said on Eddie's show, Eddie Nestor's show the other night, and I lift my hat to Eddie, because Eddie never tell the man about himself. And that's why Eddie's such a great broadcaster.
Absolutely.
Because I knew that Eddie, being an honorary Jamaican, wanted to tell a man about himself. Yeah. And the man was saying, he said, in the Home Office, like many of the civil service departments, you have these, and listen to what he said, privileged senior civil servants who were blocking and bossing her around, and she stood up for herself. And he said repeatedly, she was the victim. And he said one more thing, which of all the many things that I took umbrage to, this was probably the most laughable. He said, it is woke culture where everything that people do nowadays is considered bullying. And this is all foolishness. And I heard Eddie swallow hard. Yeah, I don't know if Eddie knew that he swallowed so hard when the man said it. That's what a sitting MP said about the situation. So here we are. It's Sunday. Priti Patel has been found guilty by the report that was asked to be looked into. Now, this is important. It's important because this same government has been asked to look into racism. This same government has been asked to look into Islamophobia within their party. Now, by a show of hands, who's confident that any report that comes out of that stream will be any more effective than this report? Remember, this report found her guilty. It didn't say they're not sure. It didn't say no. It found her guilty. Now, I don't know. What do you guys think? You know,
Look, it's a problem when the author of the report has had to resign, because again, you know, the Tories being the Tories, you know, they only want to hear the good part. If that report came as in she didn't break any rule of conduct, this, that, and the other, it would have been all fine. He would still have a job. The guy was being brutally honest. He was being totally transparent, and he's left because now they're, the whole Tory party, this is just even undermined and discredited them even further, as far as I'm concerned. There's nothing they can say to me that I would believe or I would trust. I'd rather trust Donald Trump over Boris Johnson right now.
And you know what? I kind of agree with you. And I've said this a couple of weeks now. At least
Donald Trump says it. At least he says it and means it.
You know exactly where you are with Donald. He's going to tell you about yourself and go play golf.
That's it.
Yeah. And if he has one redeeming factor, is that you are never in any doubt that he doesn't like you.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And that's his one redeeming quality. Yeah. And you know what? Him love him golf. But as someone just reminded me, there was somebody in my feed on Facebook who was trying to say that it was the white men who were more or less acting in a racist way towards Priti Patel. But where are
the BAME? Where are the BAME MPs from the Tories? Where are they? How come they're not saying anything?
Well, you can't call on them, because
where are they?
Kemi Bandacott
they're there.
Yeah, no, Kemi Bandacott 2-3 weeks before declared that there's no such thing as white privilege. So those white men in the Home Office have no status over her, because according to Kemi, white people do not enjoy any privilege in this country. And in fact, and I'm going to mirror her words, she said any attempt to teach what she called radical race theory should be illegal. She said you shouldn't be allowed to teach children that there's such a thing as white privilege. So
I don't know what crack that one's smoking, but I just can't. I can't with these people. Seriously.
It is sadly what it is. This is where we live. This is where we are. This is what they understand to be the thingy. Only one MP, only one sitting MP has had the balls to say something, and that's Ken Clarke. And Ken Clarke is like untouchable. Yeah. These are guys who sit on massive majorities. These are guys who don't need Boris to like them. And we need to understand that what we're seeing again these ongoing parallels with what's going on in the US. So the inability for Republican politicians in the US to say to Donald Trump, listen, brethren, what you're doing is foolishness. You're destroying our party. You're destroying our democracy. It's the same inability that MPs here in the UK have for not being able to call out Boris on his foolishness. Yep. It's the same thing, because guess what? Both Trump and Boris have this incredibly strong base. And these people are afraid that that base will turn against them if they're seen to be disloyal to Boris. I don't know, but it's the only thing that can explain this, this behavior.
All I can say, Paul, is more fool those people for supporting Boris to that length. More fool them.
Yeah, but
they don't see what's coming around the corner.
But they don't care, because if you take the look at it, they don't care. One of the things that you have to start to realize with this current crop of politicians, and I'm not saying Tory or Labour now, I'm just saying politicians, their care is about votes. Yeah. So their care is about what's happening in the moment. Yeah. So if you look at the way politicians behave, I'm from Jamaica, so I know that I don't need to hear if election call. I just need to see if the road start fix. Yeah. If road start fix, I know there's an election coming soon. And it's the same sort of mentality. These guys don't care. they don't have to care. All they have to care about, in the case of Boris Johnson and crew, is that in 3.5 years' time, they can present something to the people that will give them votes. Yeah. Boris's election is too recent for him to care about you as a voter. He doesn't care. Yeah. But when elections start to come closer, then they will change their tune. On Donald Trump's side, he didn't bother to change his tune because he surrounds himself with yes people. So he had no one to tap him on the shoulder and say, you have pissed so many people off that they're not going to vote for Joe Biden. They're going to vote against you. And the numbers tell us that that's what happened. Because as much as we're celebrating the fact that Trump lost the election, that Biden lost the election and they gave it to him anyway. Yeah. The reality is Donald Trump has amassed the highest votes a president has ever had. Unfortunately, as I said before, he's pissed off so many people that Joe Biden got more. So, it's all about the numbers for these guys. It's all about the numbers. But as someone said, Boris contacted the guys and said, let's make this report more palatable. So Boris put pressure on people that it didn't read too bad. So even what we're reading now might well be. I'm not sure. There's no evidence to support that. But I'm going to go with conspiracy theories today. It's that sort of a day. It might well be a watered down version of the truth.
So Boris also bullied, technically, in effect. Boris also bullied, so that, bullied the author to water down this report. That is, in effect, bullying.
But Boris has history. Boris is on tape asking a man to see if he can beat up a reporter. I don't know why we're all surprised. As I've said so many times, if Boris was Jamaican, he'd be a waste man. Yep. We'd call him 4x4, 4 children, 4 women. Yep. The woman who is now with him, I have nothing against her personally. I don't know her. Yep. But this is somebody he cheated on his wife with. So we're starting to understand the moral code that Boris operates under. That's what we need to get into our heads. We need to understand the moral code that Boris and his friends all operate under. And we need to understand how it impacts us wider. Last week we had the report that one guy earned £21 million as a middleman to get us PPE.
PPE.
That is disgusting.
Because nobody in the UK had a telephone number for a factory in China, which is where the stuff came from. Hi, can we have some PPE, please?
But Paul, there are factories here. There are factories here in England that could have produced the PPEs.
You mean like the one that got 147 million after being in business for 47 days and never delivered? You mean the factories like that one?
No.
Okay.
No.
I'm just checking because guess what?
Not that.
They have not done anything right on this whole level. And that's why when I hear people saying, oh, Paul, why are you so hard on Boris? No one saw COVID coming. The lady down in New Zealand didn't see it coming either. She did a better job.
Absolutely.
Germany, they didn't see it coming. They did a better job.
Yeah.
I'm going to start my campaign for all female leadership of all countries.
I'll go with that. Definitely go with that one.
Nah, you know what? We men, we've had our time. Yeah, we've had our time. We have cocked it up. Yeah, this morning the US cases went over 12 million. 12 million infected. And there are going to be people who, when we shift to talking about vaccinations and vaccines, there are going to be people who are going to come on and say, I don't want no vaccination because COVID is not real, it's a fake. Bill Gates and him friend them make it up to inject me with a chip.
Sorry, it's not a fake. I've lost 4 friends.
No, your friends don't count, sweetie.
I've lost 2. I don't know how they can say it's a fake. This year has been absolutely horrendous.
I don't know. And it's just, you have to link this social lack of acceptance of the official word into the behavior of our politicians.
Absolutely.
It is the behavior of our politicians that helps to feed conspiracy theories
and mistrust.
And mistrust. Because, you ask yourself, I can't trust him to carry out the law. Why would I trust him with anything else? Absolutely. And that's the problem we're having now. That's why so many people don't believe in COVID. That's why we have so many people, anything to do with government. And it doesn't matter, by the way, whether it's a Labour government or a Tory government, but anything that comes from government is automatically viewed as, this is not true. This is not in my best interest. This is, them doing something. We got intelligent people calling, Donald Trump a white knight who's come to save humanity from globalization. Huh? Donald Trump's entire business practice is based on globalization.
Yeah.
But we're in a time where that logic, even when it's right in front of our eyes, some still don't see it. They still don't get it. And that's worrying.
It begs the question, though, Paul, how many people have lost their way? Generally, have lost their way, not just because of politicians, not just because of the internet, but generally, people have lost their way.
I don't know how to answer that. All I do know is that a growing number of people have lost their way. And it's very difficult for me, you, or anybody else to suggest to them that they shouldn't have. It begins with a loss of confidence in the authorities, the people who are in charge, the people who are supposed to be responsible, not for everything about your life. There's still a certain amount of self-determination and there's still a certain amount of self-responsibility. But there are some big picture items which governments are supposed to be responsible for. And their repeated failure, their repeated lies, their repeated just absolute cock-ups. In April, we were promised the world's best track and trace system. In a couple of days, it's going to be December.
I mean, we should have known it was not going to work as soon as they mentioned the word Serco.
But they didn't tell us Serco. They just said it will go to the private sector because the private sector are best placed to deliver this fast and effectively. Meanwhile, a kid in Korea wrote a track and trace app for the Korean government from his bedroom.
Absolutely. How old was he? 14? Some stupid age like 14 or 15. Just sat in his bedroom one day and wrote this whole program out. And within 24 hours or 48 hours, the program was up and running.
Yeah. So if you notice, when they're talking about who's handled this well and who's not handled this well, there are some countries they simply do not mention. Because if they were to mention these countries, it would demonstrate just how far behind the UK is on things like that.
And we're going to be even further behind now that we come out of Europe.
I'd love to hear from some of the other people who are on the chat. You know, I know it's great listening to me and Joy, you know, go backwards, and Stella, go backwards and forward. But
I'm going to make myself a cup of tea, carry on talking.
that's not what the show's about today. The show today is about hearing your views on these things. I'd like to say hi to Dr. Carlton Brown. For those of you who don't know, this man has a product line. I hope he'll unmute himself and big up his product on it. I'm not going to say anything more than that because he can speak very, very well for himself. But this is what I want you guys to talk about today. Talk about the stuff that's important to you. While I'm here, I think I'll just take the opportunity to remind the people who are in YouTube land to subscribe to my channel. A very kind gentleman who I've known for years called me last week, very, very happy with the show. And he said, Paul, why didn't you remind people to subscribe to your channel? Yeah, that's what you're supposed to be doing. So I'm taking his advice and I'm saying, go to the People Talk channel, put in People Talk Paul Lawrence into Google and you'll find the channel, subscribe, and you'll get automatic updates whenever I go live like today. And you can chat over there. I am actually monitoring the chat over there. So I want to say hi to Andrew, hi to Petula, hi to Sherry Ann Dixon. Sherry is my auntie. Yeah, I'm adopting aunties now. Sherry's down in Guyana. She has a show, I think it's at 4 o'clock UK time. So you should check that out as well. So here we are. You know, we are now November. This morning, we're told that Boris is now planning, and please all cheer at once, for our leaving of lockdown on December the 2nd. Cressida Dick was on the radio this morning saying she is not authorizing her officers to beat down your granny door if you have more than 7 of you in the house. She doesn't think that's the right thing to do. Yeah. I'm serious. Look, I can only tell you what I hear, you know. This is what she said, you know. She's not authorizing them to do that. So, you know, I like oxtail, Jamaican style ham, not this gammon that you Black English people adopted. I want some proper Jamaican style ham, rice and peas. I don't want, it's Christmas. So to everybody who's planning to invite me round for Christmas, take out a notebook.
I'm writing it down, Paul, as you speak.
You ready? You ready? Ready? All right, good. So it's ham, Jamaican style ham. I don't want a turkey, because I'm American. I want some chicken, lamb, oxtail, yep, and my rice and peas. And I only ask this once a year, must be with gungo peas. Yeah. I truly don't think that's too much to ask. Yeah. Yeah. If you can go to your market and get some green gungo peas, I guarantee you it tastes better than the one we're getting at the tin. Yeah. It's only once a year. I will bring the sorrel. Yeah. And I see that Dawn in the chat has lost her mind because she said, so no macaroni and cheese. Just that's supposed to be understood. Yeah. Macaroni and cheese comes as standard. Yeah. But that's my Christmas desire. And I'm hoping that there's somebody here today who will invite me around and fulfill that very basic requirement for Christmas, because Cressida Dick said you can invite Paul around and she now kick down the door. Everything is good. But seriously, guys, we have big things coming up in the next few weeks and months. And I think it's apt that we now have a quick conversation about vaccines. What do we say? Who wants to start? Who would like to tell me their position on vaccines. On social media, it is clear that we now take the vaccination, make Boris go. Yeah, that's clear. And let them go. None of that's gonna happen. That's what it seems to be the way we're looking at stuff on social media. But I have a suspicion. And work with me on this. I have a suspicion that a lot of what you see on social media is talk.
Mm-hmm.
It's talk. Yeah, to use that white MP's word, this is talk to appear woke. Yeah, because you don't want to be called a sheep. And that's what the guy called me. Even though, even to this moment, he doesn't know my position on vaccines. And people don't want to appear to be sheep. We don't like to be called sheep. It's a very derogatory term. And so a lot of what I call flexing, and I'm open to people saying otherwise. And you guys out there on YouTube, I am watching the YouTube as well. So please do have your say. Yeah. I want people to tell me honestly how they see it in terms of themselves and their families. What's the position for you? And of course, you can opt to not say anything.
Hi, Paul. It's Michelle.
Hi, Michelle.
Well, in view of the speed in which this vaccine has been developed, this is where my worry comes, because I have spoken to other scientists, young people as well, who have said, on average, it takes about 10 years to develop a vaccine and to have it tested properly. So my skepticism is whether we are assured of the efficacy of the vaccine in years to come. And that is a worry. It's a worry.
So
for me and my family. And then I am stuck between the rock and the hard place, because my mother lives in Florida on her own. And every week she asks me, so when am I coming? When am I coming? When is the plane coming? And it seems as though, am I only going to get to travel if I have the vaccine, if we have the vaccine? But I'm worried that it has not been tested long enough. And I'm not sure whether the sample group is big enough. So these are worries as far as I'm concerned. But generally vaccines, I mean, I've had all the vaccines from a child. From a public health perspective, I would concur that we should have vaccines for polio, measles, MMR, and so on. But this one, I feel worried about it because of the speed under which it has been developed.
Okay, so a number of things there. And by the way, I absolutely agree with you. Yep, I absolutely agree with you about the speed it's been developed. One of the things you mentioned, you mentioned about the number of people it's been tested on. How many people are vaccines normally tested on? Do you know?
I don't know, but I'd be happy to learn. I'd be happy to learn.
I don't know myself.
Yeah.
I don't know myself, but that's the sort of question I ask myself. Anne-Marie, you had your hand up. Unmute yourself and say what you want to say.
It's Anne-Maria.
You know what? I do this every week. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm a strong believer in choice, and my choice, and I'm obviously encouraging my family not to take the vaccination. I had a conversation with a friend of mine who's a lawyer, and she's equally going to be protesting, not taking the vaccine. So I'm going to be putting some money aside. So if I'm put into a position where I'm forced to take it, then obviously I'm probably going to be one of the first test cases because it's going to be against my human rights. I don't see why I have to be forced to take a vaccination and be threatened. If I don't have it, I can't travel. So I'm not going to be put into that position. It's my choice not to have it, and I'll be exercising that.
Okay, so a couple of years ago, 2 years ago, I was given the opportunity to travel to Zimbabwe, and as a part of my trip, I had the opportunity to go to Botswana, South Africa, Johannesburg specifically, to Zimbabwe and Kenya, all in one trip. I was pretty excited, you know, as you would hope for. I booked my ticket, and I got this note that said, "Excellent, nice and great, you've booked your ticket. Here's a series of vaccines you have to take, or you cannot come into our country."
Mhm.
What do you think I did?
You took them.
You didn't go.
No, you went.
Not only did I go, I had a fantastic time. My trip to Zimbabwe is now, Zambia is legendary. Yeah, it took over 700 pictures to be able to go into the African continent, which is where ultimately I'm from, and stand on that soil was incredible. Yep. So I'm always a bit curious where people think that travel restrictions on vaccines is new.
No, but this is a particular situation, isn't it? The vaccine hasn't been tried and tested. We don't know the amount of young people that have been on the trials, what the outcomes are. We don't know what
40,000.
We don't know what
the
any
Pfizer vaccine, 40,000.
That's what we've been told. But we don't know if there's been any side effects. We don't know if there's been any fatalities. None of the information has been shared, and it won't be shared.
And this is exactly where we are about mistrust. You see, because Anne-Marie is a rational person. And hear what she said? That's what we've been told. So if tomorrow Pfizer answered Anne-Maria's question and said, there has been no side effects, there has been no deaths, she's not going to believe them. She will preface it with, that's what you're saying. And that's the dilemma of having leaders like Boris Johnson, Donald Trump. That's the dilemma we have. You have this breakdown of trust between reasonable people and the people who are in a position to affect our lives. For me, that's dangerous. That's extremely dangerous. Because when I took the vaccine to go to Zambia, I had no idea how many people it had been tested on. I had no idea whether the one I was using had been developed a day, a week, a year before. I had no idea. But rational people are today worried, and who am I to suggest that they shouldn't be worried? And so when I made my post about today's topic, I used the word justifiable fear. And that's where we are. We are in a period of justifiable fear. Because there's nothing I can tell Anne-Maria today that she won't say, but I don't believe them.
Perhaps part of that fear is born out of the fact that there's been so many mistakes.
Of course.
March made.
Of course it is.
The British government is arrogant. They don't want to take advice from others.
Absolutely, Michelle. Absolutely.
They want to learn from others. So they're using everybody as a guinea pig because everything they tried, it failed.
And that is absolutely the problem. Yeah, the problem is They have made so many mistakes. We know they've lied to us so many times. We know they've done so many things wrong. You know, we're black people, for God's sakes. So we're aware of medical testing on us. Yeah. We're aware of that. Yeah. We're aware that when we get into, when they do something to us, they overlook it. They'll come back 6 generations later and say, oh, we're sorry, but they give you no compensation. Yeah. We're all everybody on this call, one way or the other, is a child of the Windrush generation. Yeah. How many times were they warned that the Windrush rules would be detrimental specifically to children from the Commonwealth countries? And that it was in effect prejudicial against people of color, because you wouldn't stop a white man and challenge him to being English, but you would stop a black person and challenge their Englishness. And I hear today, well, not today, about 2 days ago,